Hi everyone. This week I want to talk about, I guess we'll call it like client buy-in, engagement, success, safety-ish stuff. So, I have a client that I work with that regularly ingests foreign objects. And when I say foreign objects, I mean pencils, screws, utensils, items that involve an endoscopy to remove that cannot be broken down and ingested in the body. This is also a client that has frequent suicidal ideation. A diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, schizoaffective disorder, and borderline bipolar. So, typically I don't really, diagnoses don't mean a whole lot. I mean, they obviously carry weight and they mean things, right? But I don't necessarily think of them when I'm, they're not in the forefront of my brain, I guess we'll say, when I'm working with somebody. It's really, I look at them at what are their needs, what are the barriers to meeting those needs, and how can we, help them be successful despite a diagnosis. So I guess that's where the diagnosis would play into the barriers. What are the barriers that are in front of us in terms of being successful with meeting that goal? So anyway, this client I've been working with for 2 years at this point. This is a behavior that they've carried for a long time. They did previously have a lot more harming behaviors, like they used to regularly overdose on medications like aspirin, Tylenol, things that you can kind of buy over the counter, Benadryl. And so, we have really made safety plan after safety plan with this client. We have looked at their environment. Is it too overstimulating? What is the trigger and function behind this ingestion behavior? What are they looking for, right? What are they looking for as an outcome when they're doing this? And they're not really able and or willing to identify what their triggers are. We know that stress is not something that they handle well in their life. And they really have no tolerance for it. So anytime a stressful situation presents itself, we oftentimes a few days later see an ingestion behavior, but we don't necessarily know that the stress has occurred. So basically, my long-winded, I guess, explanation and blabbering tonight is I last week experienced a little bit of just frustration. We had, it had been a roller coaster with this client. They had been back and forth to the hospital. The coordination of care from the hospital providers really was not what I would consider to be satisfactory, but maybe I have higher standards than others. And I really have reached a point where I came to this client and I said, here's the deal. I want to help you. I'm feeling very frustrated because it seems as though any safety plan that I've put in place isn't working, right? And I had this really huge realization that their safety, their outcome, their behavior is not mine to own, right? I had been really hard on myself. I'm definitely my own worst critic when it comes to, client outcomes. I'm a huge cheerleader. I'm such a promoter and advocator, and I really want to see them all be really successful. And so when I work really hard to put a plan in place, it's difficult for me at times to not take it personally when it doesn't work. Even though I know ultimately it's not my responsibility, right? My responsibility and my job is to put these things into motion, but ultimately whatever the outcome is not mine to own. So I guess I really just want to know, like, what, if any, experience you guys have with this type of stuff. How you kind of keep in check that it's not your responsibility. And I preach it to my staff every single day. I'm like, they're ingesting. It has nothing to do with you. Like, it's not your fault, right? And I know that. I know that to my core, that this is not my fault. But just like that level of like, holy cow, I have literally done everything. We have had one-to-one support. We have had different levels of check-ins. We have restricted environment, no permission of, like, no, I don't want to say permission, that's a terrible word, but no use of writing utensils without supervision, not accessing the community, not accessing, funds of their funds without staff support. And again, this is a total plan that this client has to be bought into, and they have to agree to engaging in this plan, which so far they have been. They've been very like compliant, but it hasn't stopped behavior. And so really just like acceptance for me around that's not maybe something that's ever going to stop. It could be something that is a barrier and a behavior they engage in for the rest of their life. And this ultimately could kill them. So I think that's just kind of been like my internal struggle and kind of weighing on my mind. I had processed it with my field supervisor and also with Kim in our field visit today. And that's kind of what my process of recording is around. So it's really just kind of been heavy on my mind, and I wanted to throw it out there to the group for how anybody else might handle that. And client buy-in and engagement. And this is a client I have a really great rapport with. And most of the time they're compliant with 98% of their plan. I would say 100% of their plan. They're completely compliant with the plan, but the plan isn't stopping the ingestion. And I don't know that any plan ever will. And so, acceptance around that. And, if anybody has any ideas or guidance or has dealt with something similar, throw any ideas my way. I'm totally open to suggestions. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you all. Bye.